Hello and welcome to Connecting Hope. I'm your host, Will Hampton. This is Monica GREER from the Hamilton County Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs. Good to see you again.
You too.
You know, on very first week of this show, a long time ago, 6-7 weeks ago, we had a guy on the show that actually sent me an email and said, Will, this show is going to save lives. And that right there triggers what this is all about. And when you think about, maybe the show hasn't saved a life, but you guys at the Hamilton County Council definitely have. Tell me this incredible story that just recently happened here in Noblesville.
Yeah, we started this great program. It is a Narcan opioid emergency kit. So these are free to any agency or business that would like a kit. It has 2 Narcan doses in it. So if somebody overdoses on an opioid and they are non-responsive, the staff at the business calls 911, and then they can administer 1 dose of the Narcan. It's just a quick nasal spray. And if they, after a couple minutes, if they've not come to, there's another dose. But typically, after the first dose, law enforcement or EMS will arrive. But it can take, just minutes for somebody to die. So for this to be in a business, it's just critical for that person if they overdose. And it's not harmful to somebody if they overdose and it wasn't on an opioid. This medication is not harmful. But we recently, it's probably been a few weeks since we started this program, and one of the businesses that we had this kit saved a life.
So the way that happened that day, we won't mention the business, but someone was ODing in their restroom, I believe. And the person, the staff member, or somebody knew that they had one of these.
Yes, yeah.
And that's the way it worked.
Yeah, so.
That right there is what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, it gave me chills when I learned that we helped save a life. And like I said, it's just critical to get to that person immediately to help reverse the overdose. So. Very proud of it. Yeah,
we should be very proud, especially you and your team. Jim GINDER is with the Hamilton County Health Department.
Yes.
And every show, or almost every show, he's been on here kind of giving tips or training on how to administer Narcan. So, I think it's perfect timing for that. Let's hear from Jim GINDER when it comes to how to administer Narcan.
So my name is Jim GINDER, and I'm with Hamilton County Health Department. I'm the Health Education Specialist at our office. What I'm going to do today is to show you how to deal with somebody who possibly overdosed on an opiate. So what we're going to do before we do anything is we need to make sure that the scene is safe, because I do not want to become that victim. So we have our mannequin here, so he's unresponsive. So first of all, I'm going to make sure the scene is safe. Then I'm going to come up and shake and shout, "Hey, are you okay? You're okay." He's unresponsive. I'm going to pull out my cell phone and call 911, or have somebody with me call 911. Then I'm going to put my head down by his mouth and nose, then also on his chest. And what you're doing is you are listening and you're feeling. So you don't hear anything and you don't feel the rise and fall of the chest. So you're going to take your Narcan or naloxone. I'm going to open it up. What you're going to do is you're going to take it out of the package, stick it in one of his nostrils, put it in as far as you can, push the button until the button is all the way flat with the device. Then what you're going to do is you need to flip them over. And the reason why you need to flip them over, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to start to vomit after that Narcan starts to work. It takes about 2 minutes for Narcan to work. Roll him back over if you don't see him breathing again, and give a second dose as well. Just remember, when you give Narcan, a lot of times the person will vomit. So that's the reason why I flipped them over. And also that the person can be a little combative when you wake them up. But hopefully the police will be there by the time you need to give that second dose of Narcan, or by the time that the individual starts to wake up as well too. Thank you very much for watching how to take care of someone who has possibly overdosed on an opiate. If you'd like more information, you can visit our page at Hamilton County Health Department, which is www.hamiltoncounty.in.gov. Then just hit Health Department, and you can send us an email, or if you're interested in obtaining some Narcan, we can also provide you some Narcan as well too, free of charge.
And we talk about being very proud. Jim GINDER should be, because he does such a great job with that training. And You don't want to say it's easy to do, but it is really kind of easy
Yeah.
to administer the Narcan.
Yeah, and Jim also provides all of the Narcan training to the businesses where we leave the emergency kits. So he's just awesome.
Yeah, so that's one thing that's interesting. You don't just drop the box off and
Yeah.
leave. Jim teaches the
Yes.
employees there how to use it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
About time for one of our favorite times of the show. It is time,
Yes.
the success stories.
Yes.
Been neat to hear these stories, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's the most feedback that I've received from people that watch the show, that those success stories just really hit home to some people, or just very passionate and neat to hear. So.
And tonight we have another success story. Let's hear from Lacey.
When I was 19 is when I really got into my heroin addiction, and that would last for about 4.5 years. And prior to that, I really started using alcohol and smoking marijuana when I was about 15. And I got into that, I think, really just to cope. I had experienced some pretty severe traumas and just brokenness that really impacted my identity and the way that I saw myself and the way that I coped with life. Once I tried heroin, I numbed out. It was kind of a way of just running from your reality, running from your pain and your life. And once I got started, I couldn't stop. And my addiction would lead me to multiple stays in prison, or multiple stays in jail, and just racking up charges in, so many different counties, and just on this path of self-destruction, making really bad choices, very dangerous, risky lifestyle. And I tried to get help. I went into treatment at least 7 times. I think I've lost count. But the issue was all the treatment centers were, 7 to 10 day detox centers. And I really needed more because I couldn't understand why I couldn't stop, and I couldn't understand why I even began using in the first place.
Thank you, Lacey, for sharing your story. And I think one thing what we've seen with a lot of these is they've gone on to help other people, and we're going to hear more from her in a bit. But that's what that's about with her. She now has used this journey to help others.
Yeah, and that's the amazing piece. She has the background. She knows where people have been, and transformations serving women in our community. We're very fortunate to have them.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of the teaser, transformations, and Lacey's part 2, her success story, continues. We're back with more Connecting Hope after this. Thank you again for watching Connecting Hope, and welcome back. And now we're joined by a very special guest. Glad to have Dr. TERRI Miller. And I'm going to try to get all your accolades here down. Your titles: Systems of Care, Hamilton Boone Madison Special Services, school psychologist, mental health counselor.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. But welcome to Connecting
Thank you.
Hope. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for
Basically,
having me.
why we're here with you primarily, I think, is prevention, and help people learn the things you can do, how this is a mental illness. I mean, when you have an addiction problem, it is a mental illness. And number one, that's an education, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the whole idea would be if we can prevent, and when the stuff we're going to talk about during this segment, well, with knowledge, we're able to then do some prevention pieces. Yeah. So.
Well, I'm so glad you were able to
thank you.
come on the show with us.
I'm honored.
Yeah. So one thing that we're interested in learning, and our audience would probably learn from, is talk to us about trauma-informed care. What is that?
Okay, thank you. That's a topic that's near and dear to my heart through the years. As I've worked in the schools, primarily with children and parents and their family members, what is it that may be causing some of the issues that are happening with our children and then with our family members? And trauma-informed care is this whole idea, if a system is trauma-informed, we're looking at what is a person carrying into the setting that may then be leading to some sort of behavior that we like to call a stress behavior as opposed to a misbehavior.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you think about our behaviors, if you think about something that maybe you did that you're thinking, man, that wasn't the best way for me to handle it, you can probably back up and think, my brain was not in the best spot.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about trauma-informed care, it's this whole idea of keeping that in mind and looking through the lens of somebody coming from adversity.
Okay.
And that sounds very negative, right? And so what I like to put alongside that is, if we talk about trauma-informed, we always want to talk about resiliency building.
Great.
And the most important part of resiliency building is building relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that's a great explanation, by the way. What about the physiological aspects of it?
Yeah, sure. It really is a biological thing. If you look at applied educational neuroscience, which I have some training in that, and I've been able to watch some of the strategies that we use based on what we know about brain science now. You know, years and years ago when I was a kid, lots of years ago, we couldn't scan our brains, we couldn't scan our bodies and see what was happening when a situation happened. Well, now we're able to know that some of those strategies that when I started being a school psych or a teacher, people would say, oh, don't take time to do the deep breathing. Don't take time to take care of your mental health. Don't take time to look at your wellness, okay? We know we have to do that now.
Yeah.
And so because what happens when we have have an incident that happens that's stressful for us, our brain goes into, everybody's heard of fight, flight, or freeze, right? Our brain automatically goes to fight, flight, or freeze because our brain, it's for survival. The main reason for our brain is survival.
Yeah.
And so if we have a lion coming towards us, what's our brain do? It says, get away, it's not safe.
You're not going to fight it.
And of course not. If we try, it's not going to be very helpful. We want to run. We're going to do something that we're going to protect ourselves. Our brain is saying, not safe, not safe, not safe. Unfortunately, many of our people that we are dealing with now, and when we think about our pandemic right now, we're all dealing with some situations that we have no idea, and it's all unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So our brains and our bodies are reacting to that. And there's a part of our brain that's called the amygdala, that's in that inner part of our brain, the limbic system, where it's telling us to fight, flight. It's a switching station.
Okay.
So you either go into that part of your brain that shuts down, or you go into your prefrontal cortex, which is there, that's where we make our best decisions.
Okay.
So if we are coming from the idea of we're going to be trauma-informed, we're going to think, especially now, like I say, in this environment, that we're all stressed.
Yeah.
So we need to do some of these calming strategies and truly deep breathing. It sounds kind of woo-woo and hokey. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a biological, scientific thing that we need to do these calming strategies. What you may do to calm may be different than me, but part of the strategy in trauma-informed care is to build that resiliency so when we get into that situation, we're preventative.
Yeah.
In the morning, get up and do deep breathing. Some people may say meditation is a religious thing. It's real. Any religion that you look at has meditation involved with it.
Yeah.
And trying to get to calm.
Yeah.
And we can get to calm.
Yeah. How do you apply a lot of this? A lot of our viewers they have children that are in maybe high school or younger. How do you apply it to the school psychologist hat that you wear? A lot of these systems of care and some of the strategies.
I love that you asked that question because there are things that we have learned that can be very helpful. Our teachers now are doing things, and we're teaching our teachers and teaching our kids about the brain. And so we can say to a kindergartner, where are you right now in your brain? And he's able to say, I'm in my amygdala, or I'm in my prefrontal cortex. We are teaching them about their brains.
Wow.
So I love this author that I read that he says, if you can name it, you can tame it. So if I'm able to say, we talk to our kids about what's the weather in your brain. So if it's a tornado right now, I know I'm not going to be able to say, hey, do this math problem, Monica, that I know is really hard for you.
Yeah.
Before we do that, let's do some calming. Let's do some strategies, and we may put a visual out here that says deep breathing, you're going to go take a walk, cold water Those 3 things would be things that would be helpful.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
is.
So that's how we would. That's one of the ways that we would apply
Yeah.
it. Some of our schools, when you hear announcements, remember the announcements?
Oh, yeah. Hadn't been that long ago. Come on.
But did you listen? Is the question. No, but some of our schools, they will do things like, okay, our strategy for today is we're going to all do some deep breathing together. Teachers, everybody, teachers are not on their computers during this time. They are taking that 30 seconds to a minute, and that short period of time will get the day started
That's
in a
great.
much more positive, productive way.
We've only got about a minute left. A lot of people, like you said, in this pandemic, they're on Zoom calls. They're on the Microsoft
gosh,
Teams.
yeah.
Can some of this training apply to that world?
Absolutely. In fact, I just spent 5 days on a Zoom training, believe it or not. And I connected with somebody from Africa where we actually were learning those strategies that are evidence-based and there's science behind them. And because of what's happening across our world, this is becoming more and more likely that you're going to be able to learn these strategies in different ways. I don't know if that's right to say. But yes, those things like how do we be preventative when we start our days,
great.
Yeah.
Real quickly, is there
Yeah.
a best way to get a hold of you? Someone watching this just wants
Sure.
more information.
Do you want my email?
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's Terri, TERRI_Miller at Noble, NOBL.K12.IN.US.
Well, thank you so much for what
You're
you do.
welcome.
and
I
you
appreciate
being
it.
here.
I appreciate
I'm
it.
smarter just sitting here.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
Yes,
You think I am?
I think you are. It shows. Thank you,
thank you.
Terry.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thanks that I could be here.
And we will continue with Connecting Hope right after this. Welcome back to Connecting Hope. We're so happy that you're watching this show and maybe learning something. I love Terri Miller. I mean, Dr. Miller really knows her stuff.
Yes.
A little
Yeah.
over my head, but
Yeah.
I was trying to hang on to that interview.
Yeah, I always learn something from her, no matter how many times I've attended her trainings or talked with her. She's an amazing person.
As we continue here on Connecting Hope, it's time for part 2 of Lacey's story.
At the end of my addiction, I ended up in a situation where I nearly lost my life, and I had an experience with Jesus, and I knew that he saved me. Shortly after, I was sent to prison, and during that time really grew my relationship with God and just trying to understand why he saved me, who he says I am, why I made the choices that I did, and really just started that healing journey. And it was in prison that God spoke to me and said, hey, you're gonna start a recovery center in Noblesville for women. And I believed him. I had enough experiences with God at that point that I knew that he was faithful. And so I really took that promise and just kind of blueprinted it on my heart and said, okay, let's see, what's gonna happen here. And so after I got out of prison, I knew I really needed to go back to school to get an education to be able to do that. And so I got my bachelor's and master's, and I'm a licensed social worker. I wanted to start transformations, first of all, because we were missing long-term treatment facilities in Indiana. And we were missing really more of a holistic kind of natural approach where there was there was an investment in women over time to be able to walk with them the journey, to really dive deep into brokenness and trauma, and to really gain an understanding of why they used and to get healing from that, as well as to start stepping into their future and helping them in that piece of the journey as well. And so I wanted to create something that was more integrative and just helped them kind of every step of the way, because recovery, the first couple of years are really rough, and they need that support for that time. But when I got into it, I wanted to help people, but I didn't realize how much it would also just change me and grow me and make me a better person and make me just love better and trust God more and deepen my own faith. And so I just hope that we can give back as much to them as that they've given, to me.
Lacey is an incredible story, and as you mentioned, Transformations. Actually, we're going to zoom in a little bit more on the business of what Transformations is all about next week here on Connecting Hope.
Yes.
But I love her story.
Yeah.
The fitness that they offer at their place is something we'll talk about more next week.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, Lacey Gibney, she does great work, and we do appreciate what she does.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for watching Connecting Hope. We're going to be back to wrap up this edition right after this short break. Welcome back to Connecting Hope. I'm Will Hampton along with our co-host Monica Greer. And Monica, I know each and every week we kind of zoom in a little bit on what you're all about at Hamilton County Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs.
Hey,
I've got
you're
it
getting
now.
better.
We're way into the show and I can actually say the title.
Yeah.
Why? That's one question. Why is the name so darn long?
I wish I could answer that.
Yeah.
It was that long when I started.
Yeah, when you
so,
started, when
yeah.
George Christo, we got to
Yes.
say thanks
Yes,
for the desk
George
to George.
Christo. He had my position for many, many, many years, and so I had big shoes to fill. But he noticed that we needed a table on the set, so that's why we have a table.
Thank you, George.
Yes, thank you to
real
George.
quickly, the Hamilton County Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs. There's so much that you guys do. People watching this show, they might still not sure what it's all about.
Sure.
The best way to get a hold of you, and what we want to do most, is lead people. Connecting Hope, the title, hopefully lead people to some help.
Yeah.
What's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, the best way is through email. Monica, MONICA, .greer, GREER, @hamiltoncounty.in.gov. So we do prevention, treatment, and law enforcement efforts. And so if anyone is interested in attending one of our meetings, they're open to the public. We meet every other month. So we meet in October and December for the rest of this year. So if anyone's interested in coming to a meeting or interested in finding out about our grants, just email me.
One of our great sponsors, of course, is Aspire. Daryl Mitchell and his
Yes.
team. That's a great place if you're having trouble to reach out to Aspire,
Oh,
right?
yeah, they have so many services, and they also have a health clinic. So if someone needs medication or mental health services, substance abuse services, they provide a great resource.
Well, thank you for doing it again.
Yeah, thank you.
Another week in the books, and we're back next week again right here on Connecting Hope. Thanks for watching.